Have you ever seen an athlete get ready for a big game? It's a familiar sight. They gear up, warm up, and then they stretch. We've all been told that stretching is key to preventing injuries like muscle strains and tears. But what's really happening inside our bodies when we stretch? Is it as simple as we think? Let's take a closer look. First, it's important to know there are two main types of stretching: dynamic and static. Dynamic stretches are those controlled movements you see, like leg swings or arm circles, that activate multiple muscle groups while moving through a full range of motion. Static stretches, on the other hand, are what most people picture. This is when you hold a specific position to keep a muscle at a fixed length for a set period. Imagine our athlete doing a classic hamstring stretch. They're holding it for about 30 seconds, pulling the muscle just a little beyond its usual limit. Now, we often compare stretching a muscle to stretching a rubber band. It seems to make sense, right? You stretch it, it goes back. But our muscles are way more complex than a simple piece of rubber. Rubber is purely elastic. It stretches and then snaps right back to its original shape. Muscle tissue, however, is viscoelastic. This means it has elastic properties, but it also changes and adapts under the stress of a stretch. So, what does that actually mean for our athlete's hamstring? On a large scale, that stretch is pulling on the protective layers of tissue that surround the muscle fibers. It's also tugging on the tendons that anchor the muscle to the bones. These tissues are filled with proteins like collagen and elastin, which are what allow them to lengthen slightly over the course of the stretch. It's a bit like a tightly woven fabric slowly giving way. But let's zoom in even further, down to a microscopic level. Our skeletal muscle fibers are made up of millions of tiny units called sarcomeres. These are the engines of our muscles, responsible for every contraction and relaxation. Inside each sarcomer are long proteins that slide past each other. When they slide together, the muscle contracts. When they slide apart, the muscle stretches. So, when our athlete holds that hamstring stretch, both the protective tissues and these tiny sarcomeres are being lengthened. This process allows the muscle to function with strength even at this new, extended length, which is what improves the athlete's range of motion. With each 30-second stretch, the muscle's resistance to the pull actually decreases, allowing it to elongate even further. This temporary boost in flexibility is likely what helps reduce the risk of certain injuries. It prepares the muscle to move through wider ranges without getting strained. But here's the catch: because muscle also has those elastic, rubber band-like qualities, these gains in flexibility fade pretty quickly. We're talking within 10 minutes unless they're followed by continued activity. During the game, our athlete's elevated muscle temperature and constant movement will help maintain this extended flexibility. But as soon as they rest, the muscles will naturally start to return to their previous state. It's a classic case of use it or lose it, even in the short term. So, if the immediate effects of stretching are so temporary, how do people achieve long-term flexibility? This is where the real magic happens. Permanent flexibility increases don't just come from temporarily lengthening the muscle. It happens when the muscle actually adds more sarcomeres in a series. Think of it like adding extra links to a chain. With more sarcomeres, the muscle can achieve strength and mobility at much greater lengths. Our bodies are incredibly adaptive. Sarcomeres are constantly being added or removed, depending on how often a muscle is used and stretched. This means that if you want to see lasting change, consistent stretching is absolutely essential. So, what does consistent look like? Research suggests that to really improve your lasting flexibility, you need to be stretching for at least 10 minutes a day over the course of about 2 months. But this doesn't mean holding one single stretch for 10 minutes straight. In fact, holding any stretch for too long can be unsafe. The best approach is to use shorter intervals, like 30-second holds, repeated several times throughout your stretching session. But stretching isn't just a physical game. It's a mental one too. It also affects your brain. When you regularly stretch a muscle, your brain starts to adjust its pain threshold for that specific motion. What felt uncomfortably tight at first gradually becomes more manageable. This means your body becomes more comfortable with deeper stretches over time, allowing you to make further progress safely. This increased long-term flexibility is incredibly valuable. It can enhance the mobility of your joints and help reduce the risk of injury, both right after you stretch and in your daily life. A more flexible body is often a more resilient one. However, it's crucial to understand that stretching isn't a cure-all, and more isn't always better. There's such a thing as being too flexible. Excessive flexibility, or hypermobility, can actually be harmful. It can allow joints to move in unsafe ways, putting you at a higher risk for dislocations and other injuries. It's all about finding the right balance for your body. And it's not just about how flexible you are, but also what you're flexible for. Not all sports benefit equally from stretching. Take long-distance running. For example, this sport relies on small, repetitive movements with a pretty limited joint range. Studies have shown that for runners, pre-run static stretching does very little to prevent the sport's most common injuries, like stress fractures or runner's knee. Their bodies are optimized for a different kind of movement. Ultimately, everyone's mobility needs are different, depending on their lifestyle and the activities they do. For some, a deep stretching routine is a game changer. For others, a dynamic warm-up might be all they need. Stretching can be a highly beneficial tool, but there is no single routine that works for everyone. The most important takeaway is to listen to your own body. Understanding its unique needs and limits is the real key to making stretching a safe, effective, and beneficial part of your physical preparation. So next time you get ready to move, think about what your body is telling you. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights into how our bodies work. See you next time.